I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And I'm Brianna Jones.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew and Brie to like musical theater. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Oh, I am doing phenomenal. You know, after my mom died.
Perfect. 10 out of 10. You know what? Princess Diana died, and then I found a box in the wall, and now I need to return it to its original owner. Do you want to help me do that, Andrew?
No.
Oh.
Hang on, I'm just going to fly on my lampshade up to my room. Bye.
This week, we're talking about Amelie. Cue the music, Brie.
They say times are hard for dreamers, but they won't be hard for me. I've saved up everything I know, and I can see who's falling down, and though they do not see me, I am reaching out to my hand. Inside the dream, out through the glass, my finger tracing, I see myself in every face that's racing past.
Do you know what Amelie said when she was flying on her lampshade up to her where she lives?
What she said.
Well, she says what all the French say when something exciting happened. Oui!
Yes!
Yep.
Amelie, a new musical, has music by Danielle Messe and lyrics by Danielle Messe and Nathan Tyson, with a book by Craig Lucas of Light in the Piazza. It is based on Jean-Pierre Junet's Amelie, the movie from 2001. The musical opened on Broadway at the Walter Kerr Theater on March 9th of 2017, and officially opened on April 3rd after several previews. It only ran for 56 regular performances before closing on May 21st of 2017. So big flop, turnaround flop. It was nominated for 3 awards of the 2020 Laurence Olivier Awards, but it really didn't get any Tony nominations or any Tony love that year. And this was the Groundhog Day year. Amelie is an extraordinary young girl who lives quietly in the world but loudly in her mind. She covertly improvises small but surprising acts of kindness that bring joy to those around her. But when a chance at love comes her way, Amelie realizes that to find happiness, she'll have to risk everything and say what's in her heart. So, Andrew,
Yeah.
this is a Patreon request from Lily Ackles.
All right. Well, it's definitely not a Joseph Evans Green
Yes,
suggestion.
it is watchable. But I want to give you some framing about what the version you watched and a little bit of that. So I've said this many times on this podcast. I always want to give you the most fair chance to like something. I am never going to show you the bad version of something because yucks and how funny is it. I always want to give the most credit I can to the show so your opinion on it is the most fair.
Sure.
I'm not going to show you the failed preview performance where the sets fall down or anything like that, but maybe you'd like that.
It might be funny in like a farcical way, but...
So this show started in the UK, and Samantha Barks played Amelie there, and it did respectable, and then it transferred to Broadway, where Philippa Sue, who you might know as Eliza from Hamilton, played Amelie, and that was a pretty big failure. I've watched both versions in preparation for this, both the Broadway and the UK version. And then in 2019, it was revived in the UK again, with brand new staging and a brand new aesthetic. That is what you watched, and that is 100% the best version of the show. So you got the reworked, restructured, cut down, and made better version of this. So what did you think? What is your initial thoughts?
I liked the music for the most part. I think that the sets were pretty cool. I like the pianos as the main props.
Very minimalist.
Yeah, and the puppetry, when there was puppetry, was kind of fun, I guess. I feel like a lot of the plot is just kind of, like, not very interesting.
Would you mind describing the plot for us?
Sure. It starts in her childhood, Amelie's childhood, where her dad and mother are both awful
Yes.
in their own ways. The dad has a like
He doesn't like
repo
touching her.
thing going on, where he doesn't want to touch her. He wants her to live in a bubble. And then the mother is just neurotic, I guess. I'm not really even sure how to describe it. She has a big song number where she's just giving a what is that like philosophical thing where you can't ever actually reach a location, you can only go halfway there, like infinitely.
Right.
That's like a big song number, which I don't
Which
even
is
really understand
basically
what they were going for there.
Amelie's philosophy throughout it, like through most of it.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and I like that they tie it into that. It's just like, this is such a weird thing for the mother to bring up. But that only lasts for the first couple songs, and then she leaves the parents' home and goes on an adventure to find the guy who dropped off like a book with pictures in it, or a box with pictures in it. I think.
Well, no, one is a box and one is a book. So he drops off the box in like Act 1, and then the book becomes like her quest for Act 2.
Yes. So both, kind of.
Yes.
Because she is in love with that guy because he is like an artist type, I guess. I don't know.
Well, it's also kind of like artsy-fartsy version of love, if that makes sense. Like, this isn't the traditional, like, true love story where they meet and they have their meet cute. It's like she's in love with him because they made eyes, and it's like, I felt the butterflies and the spark kind of feel, rather than an actual love story.
Yeah, though I don't know if falling in love with a guy that travels around at night and collects pictures of people he doesn't know is like a good type of love.
That's romantic, Andrew. What are you talking about?
Okay, if a guy collects pictures of people he doesn't know that he finds on the street at night, that guy might be like a murderer. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, it could be Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. 1 Hour Photo is like a great example where he collects pictures of people he doesn't know, and it's really creepy. I like that movie. They don't really reference anything like that in this, though. He is just a genuinely emotional, deep guy who likes to have pictures. He's an artiste. I don't know how they say it in Le French.
Artiste. Just higher
There's
pitch.
also like there's like another collection of characters, but there's so many that I can't figure out who's who for most of it.
But it really is the aesthetics and the music that drives this new UK production and makes it pretty much something special.
It's aesthetics driven for sure, and it's more about the emotion of it than anything in the actual story. Like, it doesn't really matter if you know all the characters, you really just need to know the one and how she interacts with them.
It's kind of like a Paddington story where she kind of enters in people's lives and like affects them, and she leaves them better, kind of. But she's still a very flawed character, at least in the UK version.
And she flies up to her loft, and it's interesting looking. I don't know.
So, we're talking about visuals and aesthetics right now, which is fine. But I wanted to talk about the Broadway version in comparison to the UK version. So,
Sure.
What is a word you would use to describe the UK version aesthetically?
Like a folksy, minimalist,
Yes.
kind of whimsy thing.
See, it was like a dark whimsy, kind of like a dark fairy tale. It felt magical. The only comparison I can have for the Broadway version, which is decidedly not good, in my opinion. I think it's a very, very bad production, despite using most of the same songs and a very good actress playing, is the aesthetics.
Okay.
Like, this is literally a comparison for how they do the two exact same scenes. I've thrown it up on the screen. Only patrons can see this. So on our right here, we have a young child playing Amelie and her parents and the way that they're designed in the stage design. And on the right, we have the new UK
Yikes! That's like
production.
it's so grounded.
Right. It's so real
looks
and
like
gross. It looks like SpongeBob.
Yeah, it's very. Why are they doing it that way? Mm-hmm. I don't know. The way that they did it in the UK one that I watched, it feels like a dream almost with her as a child.
But it also frames
like-
it as if like she is looking back on her childhood and sees herself as this puppet, as opposed to like a literal child acting out these literal things that happened.
Yeah, and it's more about the ideas that are coming across. Like the scene with the mother never really feels like the mother actually teaching, like a real scene of the mother like lecturing her daughter. It's more like this is the mother's ideology that she is like forcing upon her, you know?
Yes. And the thing is, that context really does matter, and aesthetics do matter quite a bit. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
the American one looks like, as Ben Brantley would say, bubblegum candy. Like, it's just so much fluorescent insanity, and it just ignores the innate Frenchness of the story and makes them all basically Americans with American accents and talking that way. And it has a pop feel, like all the the accordion music we have in the UK version, non-existent. It is all just like popish renditions.
Really?
Of that. Yes,
I was going to say that the orchestration in this is really good.
I agree.
And that's like one of the best parts of the show is how like folky it sounds and how that kind of it gives it that like earthy feel, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it, but like what you're describing in the Broadway one sounds just awful.
Yeah, it is. Also, the fact in the UK production, we introduce Amelie from the outset. She is first thing there, and she's basically our narrative through her childhood, and then we just kind of follow her through that. And she sees things magically, so she can do things like ride her lampshade up a wall. There's no magic in the Broadway version. And I know this is turning into a comparison, but this is what it has to be at this point to talk about
it
Amelie.
kind of sounds necessary because it sounds like the Broadway one is awful.
Yes, it does. Remember the fish subplot in the very opening scene where she has like a fish as her classmate
Yes.
and all that.
Well, yeah, and that's the mother's teaching thing as well. That's how that ends.
But it's like a darkly satiric idea of like the fish got so depressed by the mother's behavior that it tries to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Well, let me just show you. This is how the fish is represented in the Broadway version. It is literally a bearded man with like a fish head.
Is that Zach Galifianakis on stage there?
It basically is, and they have a song and dance number that lasts about 4 or 5 minutes, and it doesn't feel as Guillermo del Toro-y as the new production feels, as if it's a parable. It feels like goofy theater. Remember Mr. Bungie from New Brain?
What is that? Yeah, New Brain. That's I was actually going to mention that too, where he's got the frog hat on or something. It's like, what is going on here?
Where it feels like the UK production, the more recent one, legitimately loved the original film Amelie. Like, they love the idea of the dark fairy tale and kind of like the weird, goofy elements of the magic. Where this one felt like an American parody of that,
I have
what
never
French people might
seen
like.
I've never seen or heard of the movie. So the movie is more similar to this one.
Yes.
I was kind of going to ask, like, is the movie more similar to that? And they were just going with that because that's the movie. Like, that's what the movie does.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently not.
And now
So
there's
why?
I think it was just an American view of like what that movie was, which was bright saturated colors, a quirky main character that is basically the ideal. What is it? You don't really see it anymore. The dream girl, quirky white dream girl.
manic pixie
That's it.
dream girl.
Because she is ideally that in this movie. But it feels less real. Like, remember the cute gnome idea where the father has a little gnome to remind him of his wife?
Yeah.
Like, this will just tell you the difference between the two. I know this is a bit audio medium, but in the Broadway version, it's this giant flippin' thing, and in the UK version,
it's like an actual actor, it looks like, playing the gnome, or is that just a big prop?
It's just a big prop with like gnomish, maybe, I don't know. So they
just have a large gnome.
everything is bigger, and it's to the detriment of it. So I think the smaller, less realistic makes the surreal elements like her floating on the lampshade and the magic kind of come alive.
What's also very notable, and obviously we're in audio, so it's not a visual thing for everyone, but all of the screenshots I'm looking at, the American one is like TV show lighting. Like,
yes,
everything is very brightly lit. Everything in the scene is lit. You can see everything. The UK version is like almost the opposite. Like, there is almost no lighting except for what really needs to be lit up.
Mm-hmm. And the shadows really add to like the darkness of the world, because this is a dark world. Literally, the plot is kicked off by Princess Diana's death. And it makes the more surreal parts, like Elton John literally coming out and playing a song for Amelie's funeral as the closer of Act 1, those stand out more because of the innate darkness of the world and the minimalist aesthetics. That being said, with all these positive changes in the right direction, this show still doesn't quite work.
No, I will agree with that, actually. It's enjoyable on like a very visual and audio kind of, like the music is good, the visuals are striking and interesting, at least in the better version. But I don't know, the whole of it just doesn't quite work, and I don't know if I could put my finger on it.
Once again, it's the same thing as all movie musicals. They just stayed a little too close to the source material, because this basically is beat for beat the movie. And you could do it the parody way, which is what the Broadway did, or you could do it the sincere, dark fairy tale fantasy way. But either way, it's still a movie structure where you don't have the benefit of editing and cinematography and choices and what you're using as a film. And it really doesn't do a service to the great songs and the pretty decent book that they have here. I feel like most of the comedy works. And if you want my honest opinion, calling back to our Groundhog Day episode last week, this would have been a fantastic 90-minute piece. I just feel like it drags too long. If we had just skipped like a little bit of the pieces that were in the movie and kind of just reeled it into like girl nervous about meeting guy because she has his photo album.
Yeah.
Would have been a really cute piece.
I feel like a lot of times we come back to this thought that, and it's a lot of times it's adaptations. It just needs to be shorter.
Yeah.
You know?
Because I was thoroughly enjoying the first act. Like, almost all the first act I really enjoyed. It's the second act where it's like, oh, I can't get through this.
I think the most enjoyable it was like right at the very beginning. I think all of the stuff with the parents was very good. And then even when she moves away
in the Broadway version, it's
as well.
Intolerable. That entire part is intolerable. And let me frame this. With Amelie being on stage the entire time during the parent scenes in the UK version,
yes.
It takes 22 minutes for the actress playing Amelie to step on stage in Amelie, like in the Broadway version, because we're stuck with
it's all the child actor. Oh.
And it's like, yeah, she gets applause because, thank God, no more child actor. The brilliance of making the child a puppet is like one of the better things that this did.
It's brilliant in that the actress is on the stage the entire time, and the idea of her being a puppet of the parents as well as like a thematic element. I don't know.
Yes, and they do the connection by having her and the puppet kind of be in sync with one another at elements.
Yep.
And her reactions coming out of the voice, and the puppet just looks like a child,
honestly,
too.
That whole part, I was like, man, this is going to be pretty good. And then she moves away from the parents, and it kind of just falls off from there. Like, it kind of loses focus.
Yes. I wish the rest of the entire show was as good as the first 20 minutes.
I agree. It gets to a point where it's kind of like the plot is just this vague, like...
meandering. It's a vignette.
Trying to do something, yeah. And it doesn't... Nothing is really... Unlike something that is more like vignettes, like a Mary Poppins or something, where every vignette is like memorable and
a narrative
interesting.
In and of itself.
Yeah, there isn't really that element to this. It's just kind of like she goes somewhere and meets someone, and it just kind of happens and just keeps going.
Mm-hmm. But there's like things that like the kind of it bothers me that I like so many elements of this so early on. And I feel like it gains the traction again at the end. Like, when she meets the guy leading up to that final number, Where Do We Go From Here, is so good. I think all of that is wonderful.
Did they rush this out or something? Like, it almost feels like with just more workshopping, this could have been very good because, I mean, how did that get onto Broadway when such, like, a much, much better version? It wasn't even that long afterwards. Like, the UK one was like a year later. Is that what you said?
3 years later.
3 years later? Like, and it's so much better. Like, how did that make it onto Broadway without any workshopping to improve?
Well, it started out in the UK, remember. There was the UK version with Samantha Barks that they fast-tracked to Broadway, but I feel like that in that transition, there was too many cooks in the kitchen to, like, try to make it palatable to a New York audience, which is never really the way to do it.
Yeah, you know, it's like, what do New Yorkers like? I know, giant fish, a big gnome.
Well, they like
lighting.
easy laughs, the low-hanging
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah, but that stuff doesn't last. That stuff never succeeds. Like, you might get good ticket sales early on. I don't know, but it doesn't work.
But it also, Mina Maneri recently commented that we talk so much shit about UK theater with the DJ Saved My Life and Fame. But this is one of those times where, like, the more intimate, less big, less promoted West End theater productions are very, very good and tend to be much better than the original Broadway productions because they respect theater and put money into theater over there in the UK much more than they do here. It is less of a materialistic commodity and more of an artistic one over there. So they can do something like Amelie, which is very, very much improved just by aesthetics and trimming and all of that. Like, you remember the song that in the original Broadway version acts as an I Want song. It's the second song of the show, which is Times Are Hard for Dreamers, which comes most of the way through Act 2 as, like, her, like,
Yeah.
I'm ready to finish the story. That is the second song in the original Broadway run. So just restructuring of things. And every one of her relationships, she has the song World Best Papa in the UK version.
Yes.
But in the Broadway version, she had World's Best Papa, World's Best Mama, World's Best Fish, World's Best Daughter. And it makes that opening drag on. And she has like a little hand creature that she talks to.
So I gotta say one thing.
Yes.
And I guess it now is making more sense. So I don't get like a playbill or anything.
No.
So sometimes I'm looking on like Wikipedia to try to follow along with certain shows, and this was one of them.
Yeah.
And like I was looking at it and I was like, this is worthless to me because I'm pretty sure the version I'm watching is just completely different.
And it is.
Because I'm like, okay, World's Best Papa. Okay, where is this next one? World's Best Friend, World's Best Mom. Like, where are all these songs? So that was, I guess now that makes a lot more sense.
So it's interesting. And once again, in Broadway, it's not World's Best Papa, it's World's Best Dad.
Yeah, World's Best Dad. Because
they had to string out every bit of Frenchness to this, any bit of Europeanness.
The show's called Amelie with it's a French thing. I don't know.
It's a French movie. It is the most well-received in America French film ever, basically.
Yeah.
But Andrew, don't take your and my words for it. We gotta compare what our thoughts are to those of the New York theater critics at the time this show came out. It is time for everyone's favorite segment of the show. It's time for previews.
It's time for previews. It's time for previews.
Ben Brantley of the New York Times said, for a cunning little bauble of entertainment, the 2001 French film Amelie inspired uncommonly extreme responses. People were usually head over heels about it. It's so cute, or violently allergic to it, but it's so cute. As you have surely gathered by now, Amelie is aggressively cute and quirky. The film's preciousness is balanced to some degree by the philosophical resignation of its unseen narrator. Even Mr. Jaunet's inventive, cinema-infatuated mise-en-scène is steeped in a sort of so it goes or ça va drollery, sentimentality plus cynicism, being the quintessential French equation. That delicate balance teeters when it's rendered via swelling song and skipping dance. The musical staging and choreography are by Sam Pinkleton. That's the show's creators are aware of the potential dangers of cloying cuteness, probably accounts for its seeming so subdued, even as frolicsome puppets by Amanda Villalobos.
I also want to bring up from that, he does highlight Philippa Sue and how good she is in it, because she was very good even in that bad production. It's just that he kind of meanders and talks mostly about the film as opposed to like actually having a critique about the show, which means he didn't like the show.
Yeah, it seems like he had an opinion on the movie, or he didn't have an opinion. He doesn't really know.
He doesn't
He thought it was cute and quirky. He thought it was aggressively cute and quirky. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it didn't work for him. And it sounds like it didn't work for you either, so I suppose you agree.
It didn't work. Let's hear what Jesse Green of Vulture had to say, Brie.
Jesse Green of Vulture says, which brings us to Sue. No surprise to those who know her from Hamilton or the pre-Broadway versions of Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. She's effortlessly lovely and a superior singer, but traits that have helped her bring Eliza and Natasha to life. Simplicity, transparency. Can't do much for Amelie, who remains like the girl in her neighbor's forever unfinished Renoir, an outline of a figure at the heart of the story. All of Sue's skill and all of the craft of the authors have produced this final paradox. The more Amelie is revealed, the less we see. Like its title character, Amelie is a show that has very nearly willed itself into obscurity.
Which is accurate. No one fucking liked the show. No one saw it. No one nominated it. It lasted like a month.
I'm surprised we got a request to talk about it.
Lily Eccles, why? I feel like they expected us to have some big opinions on this, but we don't.
Maybe they thought it was really bad, and we'd have some mean.
Maybe they didn't expect me to try to play fair here and give you the more recent UK tour, which is much better.
And it kind of was good enough that I don't think I can be super mean to this one.
No, this isn't something I want to be mean to, is the thing. Like, I feel like the creators and authors really put their effort into it. It just is too damn long. That's basically the end and long and short of it. It's too long, there's not enough story, and the aesthetics are cool and nice, but not enough.
Just take the first 20 minutes and chop that out, air that as a short.
You know what? I'd say even the first act. Kind of put the ending of Act 2 onto Act 1, and you've got a good 90-minute show.
It's all set. You got your Elton John in there somewhere. I don't know.
I feel like you can cut the Elton John scene altogether, but maybe...
You can, but you know what? There's no reason to. It's funny.
That's weirdly the end of Act 1 when that feels like it should be the opening of Act 2.
Yeah, it kind of does. Like... It's sort of irrelevant, and it's just kind of a gag, but they put it at the end of Act 1 for some reason.
Yeah, Act 1 should be like the cliffhanger. Oh, what's going to happen when we come back? But here it's like, Elton John's here to sing about Amelie.
Maybe that is the cliffhanger. Maybe just people want to see more Elton John, and they expect more. And
there's no more Elton John when you come back.
There's no more Elton John when you come back.
You want to go into a mid-show, Andrew?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, enjoy these ads, kids. Hey guys, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the show, but we've got a shill at you. Andrew, what's Patreon?
Patreon is where you can go if you'd like to donate to us and get some extra perks. We have a second Patreon-only podcast where we are talking about Gallivant. We have... commentaries on lots of things. Patreon's where we'll put stuff that we don't even think we can talk about on here, and we'll just do commentaries.
We got our spicy opinions there.
That's where you get all the hot takes.
Yeah,
that are even too hot for this.
Honestly, he says it like that, but that's accurate.
It's kind of true.
Our current patrons are Melissa Goldman, Terry Needleman, John Donna, Max Ludick, Lily Ackles, Danielle Renix, Jess the Stampede, Ewan Cassidy, Taskier, Fire September, Monica Thoreau, Mina Maniri, Brent Black, Haley Murray, Allison Wonderland, B-Way Flicks, Nathaniel Stacy Coombe, Joseph Evans Green, Carrie Ahern, Irigale Jue Whiter, Christine Malmedel, Cole Birchfield, Mary Lou Choquette, John Vanals, Heck You, I Go By Elijah Now, Russ Walker, Musical Hell, Emily Gracie, Andrew Van Barson, To Blam, Kyle Summers, Janae C., Kyle, Christina Francis, Felice A., Skylar, Liz Lim, Corey Wilmarth, Allison Stuller, Nothing Is Certain, Except Beth and Taxes, Elizabeth, Thespian, Ren Cullen, Jamie Holland, Wait in the Wings, Lady Malvolia, Spectacle Machine, Jacob Stroop, Robert Benjamin, Rachel T., Jessica Tubis, Genevieve Hartnett, Cassandra Pena, Mitchell Young, Dale Windecker Jr., and Chai Teacup. They give us a little extra financial support that helps us keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. If you'd like to join them and many others, come join us over at Patreon. All right, Andrew, you ready to get back to the show?
Oh, I'm ready.
What do you think of the opening number, The Flight of the Blue Fly?
September 3rd, 1975. The moment a blue flag takes flight. It passes a fruit stand and lands on a fig as the new owner's taking a bite.
1 block away at an outdoor cafe, as the wind makes the tablecloth dance.
Even before the fly lands on a girl, the girl's getting sick in advance.
I really enjoyed it. I don't really remember like what the song was actually about.
It basically just set up Amelie and like the idea of like her and her connections to the world. Like it's in the UK version.
What I remember the most about it was the accordion intro, which I thought was pretty cool. And more of a setup of like the visuals and what style of music it's going to do, which I suppose is the best part of it. For me, I don't really know what the song was really doing, though, to introduce the characters, I guess.
But Andrew, how do you think they did it in the Broadway version?
I mean, it sounds like in the Broadway version, they probably had like Mayor McCheese come out in like a very bright spotlight and introduce child Emile or something. That seems like...
Nope, look at that. They show that they actually make Scrimbleshank's train style blue fly that is a representation of the fly. They take this metaphorical song and turn it literal because you idiots.
Well, yeah, I mean, everything has to be literal, and these are Americans. They don't understand the nuance of metaphor. I mean...
No, they definitely don't.
The gnome is literally a giant gnome. The fish is literally a talking fish. I mean, come on.
We all love SpongeBob the Musical. That didn't come out yet, right?
Yeah, the fly is a literal giant blue fly. Was it giant? I don't even know.
Yeah, it was giant. Like visually, I don't know if it's meant to be giant in the story narratively, but
I mean, honestly, they could have just had Mayor McCheese come out and introduce her. I mean,
hello, I'm Mayor McCheese. Amelie was a sad little girl. Her father never touched her.
Like, honestly, it'd be about as
Ben
fitting,
Brantley
right?
is like, Philippa Sue's performance undercut by the Mayor McCheese that come out in the opening number.
I mean, come on, you might as well.
Oh my god, it's SpongeBob!
Ugh.
But it's like one of those foam head SpongeBobs from like Slime Time Live or whatever.
I really love the music style in this, and I kind of wish we got more... okay, not the Broadway one. I'm specifically talking about the one I watched.
Yes, the very accordion French sound.
Accordion, the acoustic guitar on stage with the accordion as well. Pianos. I think it's super cool.
Can you, for this specific song right here, play a comparison of two of the same pieces from the two versions? Because I feel like that'll just sum up the difference between the shows, in all honesty.
High on the breeze near a flying trapeze, the fly meets a girl in midair, and for one shining moment It feels like there's no one else there. The girl thinks she sees the fly smiling.
Is that fly actually smiling? Merde!
What instrumentation do they use in the Broadway?
Oh, what do you
show?
think? Like, it sounds like Next to Normal or Dear Evan Hansen.
Is it like electric guitar, like keyboard?
Yep.
Drum kit?
Basically.
Because, like, when I was watching, because I didn't know anything about this. I didn't know there was a Broadway version that was super different. I was like, man, that's a really interesting choice of instrumentation that they use. I love that it's all on stage. I love that the pianos are part of the set. There's just so much cool stuff going on with that.
It changes the feel of the entire show. Like,
oh yeah, of course.
Like, say what you will about the Broadway version, it sounds like the visuals that we get.
Yeah, I mean, it just sounds like a Broadway show, you know. And I think it's kind of sad that Broadway
has a sound.
Yeah, like currently right now, there's just a Broadway show thing, and you can almost guess like what shows were on Broadway. And I don't feel like it was always like that, but I could be wrong.
Well, take a look at like the Sondheims. Like, Sondheim has a sound, but none of them sound exactly alike. Sweeney Todd does not sound like Merrily We Roll Along.
Yeah, and also his sound is unique as well. Like, he doesn't sound like every other composer, you know?
Which is why you kind of have to appreciate like the Wild Parties, where those two are very different shows with very different sounds about the same subject matter.
Yeah. Okay.
Or even like Groundhog Day, like last week. That doesn't have like the traditional Broadway sound in the same way that Amelie Broadway does.
True. I mean, I think the sound that we're all thinking of is like the Dear Evan Hansen type.
Next to Normal.
Yeah, it's just
to a certain point, Legally Blonde.
It's just like a pop rock kind of like sound that just seems
Thanks, Rent. You've ruined Broadway forever.
It doesn't even fit Rent though, because Rent's almost like a pop punk almost. I don't think it's quite punk, but it's almost there. It's almost like I keep saying almost. It's like they listen to Rent and they're like, this is too edgy. Let's trim it. We're gonna smooth it out, and we're just gonna make it pop rock. And that's kind of the current sound.
That's fair. So really the songs kind of blur together. The next one I really want to talk about is Halfway, which is in a very different place than in the Broadway version and the UK one. And I really like this because it really does reinterpret the mother's thesis of like, you can only make it halfway, and explains why Amelie's so afraid to kind of take the chance and make a relationship.
In my mother's schoolhouse, I would sit at the kitchen table and listen to her teach geometry. She taught me about distance. She taught a lesson about a boat that is sailing the sea, trying to get from point A to B. So the little boat's traveling at full sail, and it's trying to reach the shore. But whenever the boat gets halfway there is always halfway more. You take half of half and half of that, so on and so. In my mother's schoolhouse, there was always halfway to go.
I really like the theme of the halfway ideology, kind of how it influences her way of thinking, and that coming back and her reinterpreting. That's one of the cooler parts of the show, especially thematically, which a lot of the show is just thematic because there's really not that much plot that goes in.
No, it is visuals, themes, and emotions.
Yeah, and I like it's a bit of a. It's not like a very heady theme. It's not super philosophical, but I love that they brought something like that into it.
No, I agree. I like that it had a thematic arc to it.
Yeah.
And the weird way that it handles death in and of itself is kind of a strange way. Like the mother dies by someone jumping off of a bridge and then landing on her.
Yeah, someone is trying to kill themselves, right? And they land on her and she dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's such a charmingly dark way of handling that.
It's ironic, I suppose. It's like this person wanted to die and they end up killing someone else.
Yeah. Now I guess we got to talk about the big song that was changed in position. It used to be the I Want song, and now in the UK version, it's like mostly through Act 2, and that is Times Are Hard for Dreamers.
On the train in Paris, half a mile from Sacré-Cœur, the city's waking up for me. A sign says an apartment's vacant on the second floor, and suddenly I hold the key. I turn a lock, the rooms appear, and all it takes is one more step, and then I'm here.
How does this work as an
Amelie.
I Want song? Because I guess I didn't get to see that.
It didn't. It's just like, I'm Amelie and I dream around the world and it's so hard to be dreamy. Life's so good. I'm a pixie girl. Where in this one, it's like, it's hard for me to try to help people. It's really hard and I want to help people.
Well, I think it becomes more literal where times are hard for dreamers.
Yes.
Uh,
It works better
yeah.
as a literal title of a song. And
Yeah,
feel free to
it's-
play both versions here.
I think the main thing to consider is that this song is near the end of the show in the other one, in the UK one.
Yes, and the good one.
In the better one. Which I guess kind of like, what is the I Want song in the UK one?
I would actually say it's probably either World's Best Papa, because that really just shows that her want to be touched and like the world kind of denying her that. Like that entire sequence, I think, does that pretty okay.
It's kind of odd, though.
I Want This.
Yeah, because it's about another character. It's a little weird.
But if we could reframe it further, it could be the sound going around in circles, which is just about like going day to day, doing the same thing every day. That's more of an ensemble number, but it still reframes like Amelie's emotions during that.
It's a bold choice to pick the I Want song to be the song that you just are like, no, this doesn't belong here. Move it to the end.
It's smart because it is reaffirming Amelie's belief system in the end, and it makes more sense for her to be like coming out of some trials and tribulations and being like, shit's hard.
I'm congratulating the show on making a bold choice
and it working.
It's cool.
I wish more shows would drastically change themselves after a failure on a Broadway stage. Like Marilee's
so
done
many
it, Jess has
shows-
done it. Like not many
So
other
many shows, when they fail, they're just like, well, that didn't work, and then they just go away forever.
Look at Groundhog Day.
Yeah, which honestly is a shame because a lot of these shows I think are
So
not.
close.
They're like close, and it's just like, man, if you just put a little effort in, and somebody just has the right idea for it, it could really work. But it's not profitable, I suppose, which is just an issue with the way Broadway works, and it has
All right,
to
I've got
make
a
money.
pitch for us. We
Sure.
throw on all shows. They start in the UK, and then we send them to Broadway. Then if they flop, we send them back to the UK, and they figure it out.
They're like, all right. So
All
the
right,
UK
Mike, let's go fuck this shit up.
The UK is both the originator of ideas and the dumpster for bad ideas.
Yeah, and they also come up with plenty of their own bad ideas. David Hasselhoff, DJ Saved My Life.
Oh, come on. That was great.
Fame, the musical.
Okay, maybe not that one. All right. There's not really many songs that are like worth discussing.
There's one more. There's one
Yeah.
more, and this is even before because I didn't look into this show much before Lily requested us talking about it. But this song, the final song, did come up on my recommended songs quite often, and I loved it just as a little number. And it's Where Do We Go From Here?
Where do we go from here? Now that we are finally side by side, after all, there's more to life than we can see. Will there be troubles?
I don't know. Will you be with me?
I hope so.
Will there be time to keep on dreaming once this dream is over? What happens when the booth goes bright? What happens when you're out of view? What happens when you can't hold on? Or when I can't hold on to you? What happens when tomorrow comes and there's nothing that we can do?
I love it.
I like the song a lot, and I like the way it ends. It doesn't end in like an upbeat or a downbeat kind of way. It just sort of she finally meets the guy, and it just kind of it's done.
Like, because she had the goal of like connection. That has been her goal. And then she finally gets it, and she's like, well, shit, now what happens? And we're left without an answer.
Yeah, no, and I think it's actually a really good way to end a show. Especially a show like this where it's really not about what happens, and it's more about the
feeling of the thing.
of it, and the way that she goes about things, and the ideas behind all of that, and the emotions behind all of that, and not really about like literally what happens. So it makes sense for the show to just kind of stop.
So now that we've talked about that, Andrew, what is your overall thoughts and your cheese rating?
Well, again, I've only watched the UK one, and I will be rating that. I will not be rating whatever the Broadway is, because I didn't actually see it, so it's not fair of me to do. It is fine. I like a lot of the music, but not very much happens in it. I'm not always like a super plot-heavy person, but this felt a bit meandering, and it felt like it could have had more going on. So I can't rate it super highly, but I don't think it's a bad show. Like, I wasn't like actively disliking anything I was seeing, and I really liked the visuals, and I really liked the music in a lot of places.
It felt magical.
No, yeah, I mean, it felt like a fun little thing, you know? I kind of wish it was...
If it was a little bit shorter...
Yeah, I was just going to say that. If it was a little bit shorter, it might be more enjoyable. It felt like something where you like being in the world and watching it, but you're kind of like, well, there's not really anything happening, though. So it's hard to really justify sitting there for 2 hours, you know?
Yeah.
As far as a cheese, I'm on a list of French cheese. I'm going to pick one that sounds cool, because it deserves a French cheese, right? How about Livarot? I don't know how this is pronounced. Livarot? There's no T in French, so it's got to be that. I'm going to give it that. That's my cheese. It's from Normandy, I guess. I don't know. That's in France.
Bree, how'd you like our discussion? What's your cheese rating there?
As always, love your discussion. I was checked out for a minute because there was an issue with a shipped order, and I don't know where my food is. But that's okay.
Was there cheese involved?
No cheese involved. But because I have had lovely micro bangs like Amelie, I'm going to give this my cheese rating will be Brie cheese.
That's my girl.
That's me.
Love it. That's you. You're
That's
the
me.
cheese Brie.
And that's why I was hired, because I'm a cheese.
You are a cheese. You're a little cheesy girl. Amelie, it got better. Like, I think is the best way to say it. I appreciate any show that wants to improve and realizes it has troubles and is willing to really dive into what's wrong with it and try to fix it. I think that's always very good when a show does that. It's still not quite there. Even the UK version, as beautiful as it looks, and the sound is so gorgeous. The music, the orchestrations, they're there. It's just too long, too meandering. Cut it down a bit, and we've got a great 90-minute show here.
Yeah,
A great one-act
All right,
piece.
one last thing, because we're a little bit under time, and we didn't bring it up. Have you seen the movie?
I have not seen the movie. I've seen bits
I've
of the
not
movie.
seen the movie either. Man, usually we at least have one of us that have seen the movie when we talk about an adaptation like this. So, it's a shame.
Yeah, but I really kind of wanted to look at the musical alone as a musical. I hear it's too accurate, for one. Like, that has been a real big thing. But it looks beautiful. The movie is gorgeous. It is directed by the same guy that directed Alien Resurrection, which is just
That
a
is
weird thing
extremely
to think
strange.
about.
Wow. Okay. I heard that that's a terrible movie, The Alien Resurrection, but I've not seen it.
It's not the worst movie in the world. It's Joss Whedon wrote it, which is also weird. So Joss Whedon wrote a alien film, and a weird French man who directs weird French movies directed that.
Okay.
So what do you think it was going to turn out like?
Yeah. I mean, the Alien movies, after Aliens, really kind of didn't work that well.
My favorite is actually Alien 3.
Alien
so
3 is
call me
Alien 3
crazy.
is actually pretty good, in my opinion. But
It's such a dark, miserable movie, and I love it.
but I kind of feel like it is sort of retreading a lot of Alien.
Yeah, it goes back to the well, and at least it's in a prison, which is a new setting, and like gives us new types
The
of
thing I
threat.
can appreciate a lot about Aliens is that it is really different from Alien, so it kind of justifies its own existence. But Alien is the best one in my opinion. The first is just the best one.
Yeah, Alien's the horror movie.
It's just the best
it's
one.
great. I don't like Aliens. I like Aliens.
Again,
better
I'm
than
be honest. I agree. I think Aliens is a justified sequel that can exist and is fun to watch. But Alien and Alien 3 are horror movies, and I like those better.
Yes. We should really think about starting that second podcast, Horror with Cheese. I feel like that'd be a lot
I
of
got
fun.
some nice stuff to say. I actually watched a really good horror movie, horror comedy. Have you heard of Extraordinary?
No.
It's like an Irish horror comedy about a woman who has like the power to like talk and see the dead, and it's really good. And it has what's his name? Oh my goodness, Will Fort, I think is his name. Forte. He's in it as like this 70s singer that is in cahoots with the devil, and it's just great. It's very funny.
Can I tell you the most horrifying film I've seen
Sure.
in a long time? Promising Young Woman. That film.
Oh my god.
I've not
Still
heard that.
reeling from watching that movie. Holy
should watch
shit.
it. I
You
thought it was
should
great.
go in completely
Okay.
blind, though. Go in as blind as you can. I'm actually very curious how you... Bree, what did you think of that ending?
Well, don't spoil for
No
me.
spoils, but...
No, I won't. If they didn't add that ending, it would have been garbage.
That little bit at the end, if that wasn't there,
That-
I would have been so angry.
Right? Like, it saved the entire... Like, it just made everything worth it.
Yeah. It was dark,
there-
and the opening scene, I literally was like, Miranda, I don't know if I can handle it if it's going to be this intense, and then by the end of it, I'm like, okay, I can breathe, thank Christ. Oh my god.
Okay, except for, like, the,
This
like,
might be
climax
something that I have to
scene.
watch by myself because my girlfriend doesn't like that intense.
Yeah. The climax
After that
scene-
opening scene, it gets better.
Oh, yeah. No, because the climax scene is intense, and it lasts for a very long
We watched
time.
Hereditary, and I don't think she liked it.
My girlfriend likes it and understands it's a good movie, but was also like, that's too much for me.
I liked it a lot, and I don't know. I didn't like the ending, but whatever.
But if you guys watch Promising Young Woman, don't watch the trailer. The trailer will spoil too much.
Okay, Promising Young Woman is.
No, I watched the trailer.
I was looking
don't
at
think
like
so.
2020
I think
was
it's
like the
too
year
much.
of only horror movies existing because everything else got canceled. So I was looking at a list of like really
Yeah.
good ones. Have you seen any? Is Possessor worth watching? Is that?
Possessor, is that like Terrorizer? I know this Amelie podcast just
We can cut
devolved into
all of
horror
this
talk.
if you want to. I'm just I keep the Alien 3 stuff because that's somewhat relevant, I guess.
Alien 3 is great.
Possessor is like Cronenberg's son made the movie, and I guess it's getting
Yes, I've
getting
heard
good
of that.
reviews.
It's got pretty good reviews.
It looks dark as shit, and the premise is dark as shit, and I don't know, maybe.
See, my girlfriend can tolerate nearly everything except for Cronenberg. She cannot handle transformation horror.
Oh,
body
that's like
horror
my
fucks
actual
with her too
favorite
much.
type of horror. Like, legitimately, I like body horror the best.
Like The Fly.
The
she saw
Fly
that
is
too
so
young and
fucking
it
good.
messed with her.
The Fly is so fucking good.
I will forever thank my screenwriting teacher because he was like big on, no, it's not just the classic Hollywood films. You need to watch like monster movies.
If you don't
and all
watch
these
genre
things. So he showed us
films,
The Fly and broke it
Like,
down as
you're not gonna have like, what are you gonna make? Like, what type of movies are you gonna make if you have no influence from like genre films? I don't know. You're gonna make the most boring fucking movies ever.
Oh, Brie and I have sat through plenty of film festivals, and yes, they do.
It's like, oh, I have no influence from like actual pop culture movies and like horror trends, so
I
I
make
just make
garbage.
fucking shit. Like, get out of here.
I'm feeling trapped in my own mind. I'm looking for some
Yeah,
kind
you
of
are trapped in
sign.
your own mind. I don't want to be there. Get me the fuck out of here.
That was an in-joke.
All right, I think we're done
All
here.
right. My cheese rating is Fromagerie de Paris Le Boeuf, which is a type of cheese. But guys, that's the end of this show. Please follow us on Twitter at Cheesy Musicals. Give us some love on the Instagram at Musicals with Cheese. We got a Patreon-only podcast. We're covering Gallivant. Our transcriptions are by Mesha Litvinova. Our title card is created by Jolene Casco. Our keeper of the cheese is Juliet Antonio. Thank you for doing that for us. This show is produced by the amazing, the wonderful, the incredible Brianna Jones. Thank you to the Broadway Podcast Network for having us on the platform. All right, guys, is there anything else you want to say?
Au revoir.
It's hard out here for a dreamer. It's hard out here for a dreamer. That's the
think
song,
so.
right? All right, we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese. Bye. Amelie, I'm French.